Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us here today. We are brought to you by Russell & Associates and coming to you from the 111 Riverfront Building, the Latch Development Center in downtown Winona. And this week we'll start with baseball first. Head coach Seth Wing joins us, and congratulations to you for getting your first home win as a Warrior head baseball coach. What was that feeling like for you?
It was awesome. It felt good to be back at Lowry Field. The weather has cooperated, which is a big deal for us. And just the reward of all the work that we've been putting in. And it's been a long time in between home games, so for me personally. So it felt great. Really happy where we're at and where we're headed.
And now, as you told me off camera, you're going to have a long stretch of home games, which is really interesting. In this past weekend and week, since we last talked to you, you saw a little bit of everything in games. Let's start out with the Northern State and first the doubleheader there. Tell us a little bit about how the team did in that.
Yeah, we set ourselves up really well, getting the sweep on Sunday, the first day of the 3-game series, and led by Justin Barrientos, who started game 1 and threw a complete game, just dominated them. Really set the tone for the series. Our offense really took off in game 2, got a big lead, and were able to finish off the sweep on Sunday. And then, I knew Northern would come back with some urgency on Monday. Their season was in the balance, essentially. They lost several one-run games. And they came out swinging it really well and put a big number up on us early. We ended up clawing back. We had the tying run on third base with 2 outs in the 9th and just hit the ball hard. Kid made a nice play. It's just kind of fitting how that day ended with the craziness score of a 14-13 game. But I was proud of the guys to win the series, and certainly, we were hoping for the sweep going into Monday, but we certainly are happy with winning the series. All
right. It was really interesting what happened with that weekend and all the different scores. With a score like 14-13, obviously you probably went through some pitchers,
yeah.
and maybe that kind of hurt you a little bit heading towards the next series. But what is that like to kind of go through a game like that where the offense is all over?
Yeah, and that's something that you can kind of tell early on that this is going to be one of those days. Yeah. And so we had a freshman pitcher out there making his first start at Lowry Field. He'd pitched really well, hadn't faced much adversity this spring, and he was ready to go, but he didn't quite execute the way he had been, and they took advantage of the friendly, cozy right field fence at Lowry Field and knocked a few balls out of the park. And I was proud of our offense because they, for the first time, really, they picked up when we weren't getting the job done on the mound. They picked it up and gave us a chance to win the game, so I was really proud of them.
Okay, so then you regroup a little bit,
Yep.
And then Minot was the next opponent. What did you do in between then to kind of get ready for Minot?
Yeah, and that's something we talked about after the Northern State series and losing that last game, and we really knew Minot it's an upper tier team in our league. They had just come off a heartbreaking 11-inning loss to Mankato and nearly won that series against Mankato. So we knew, this is a good team coming in. Our guys were locked in. They knew they had a job to do to protect their home field. Came out and just put a bunch of runs early up again and held on at the end. And we had an awesome start by a freshman pitcher, Peyton Lee. He threw a complete game, and he honestly looked like a fifth-year senior. Hopefully he's the next coming of Justin Barrientos. But he did an awesome job. Was so proud of him. And we hung on and won 8-4 in game 1. And then game 2, again, our momentum just took right off, and we put a ton of runs up early. We got about 8-0 in the early to mid innings of the game, but Minot's a good team. They did not go away. They kept scratching, clawing, and really put a lot of pressure on us to complete the game. And they just kept going, and unfortunately we weren't able to hold on. They scored a run in the bottom of the 8th to take the lead 9-8. Again, we had the tying run on third base when the game ended in the 9th inning. So it would have been an amazing sweep for our program and show that we belong in the conference championship contender to get both of them. But certainly I feel good going into the next series with St. Cloud.
All right, I'll kind of ask you about that because last week we kind of said the team that seemed to turn a corner after Florida and it started to play a little bit better. You said that you're only a couple of runs, a couple of games away from really having a good record in the NSIC. and then you kind of have that disappointment against Minot. So what do you think the sense of the team is now heading into this week after losing that 8-run lead?
Yeah, that's going to be tough. It'll be hard for them to kind of overcome that and push through it. And I know they'll be ready. I know that they know how close we are. And if you think about it, like I told you, we're 2 1-run losses away from being 8-2 in the conference and being at the top of the standings. And so if we can just finish these games, then we can put ourselves in a good position. And I know they'll let this one, they'll move past it, they'll learn from it, and they're going to compete hard going into the weekend.
Is there anything at this point of the season that you can do in practice to kind of fix some of those things, or is it just something that has to play out during the games?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and honestly, we talked about that after the game yesterday. We are actually 2 injured pitchers away from being full strength, and so if we can get those arms back, in my opinion right now, that's all we need. We're 2 arms away from having a better bullpen or having a better starting rotation. And so we have a couple guys on the shelf that are close to getting back. And so once we get back to full strength, we're going to be in great shape.
All right, and as we said, now you're going to have a stretch of games because now you've had some more site flips, right?
Yep. Yeah, so Bemidji is now coming to our place. We have St. Cloud this weekend at home. Bemidji's coming to our place next week for a site reversal because of the weather up in Bemidji. And we really have to take advantage of this. We're going to have 15 games at Lowry Field in a row for the conference, and we're very fortunate where our location is within this league. So if we can take advantage of this, we should be sitting pretty well when we get through the stretch.
We only have about a minute, 30 seconds or so left, but how does home field mean in baseball? We talk about football and basketball with some of the coaches, and sometimes they say, it doesn't really mean too much. But for you, what is home field?
It certainly does, and I noticed it more so this past week. I didn't put much thought into it until I actually saw it. I saw the energy of the guys. I saw their comfort in the batter's box. I saw their comfort on the mound for the returners, and it's I think an exciting thing. I mean, our offense is starting to pick up, and I think a big reason was because we played 5 games at home, and having another 10 here, you should see our offensive numbers continue to climb on the trajectory that they're on right now after this 5-game stretch.
All right, well, good luck this weekend and the rest of this week, and hopefully you get some big crowds out to see baseball. It seems like a really exciting season for Warrior baseball.
It really is, and we had about 300-400 people there on Sunday, so it was really cool for the guys, so we appreciate it.
All right, very good. We're going to take a break here on the Warrior Report. When we come back, Justin Furbo will join us. It's right after this. And welcome back to the Warrior Report on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Russell & Associates, coming to you from the 111 Riverfront Building, Lash Development Center in downtown Winona. Time now to talk with Justin Furbo, and thanks for joining us here today.
Of course.
5th-year senior, so this is it for you. But what a career you have had at Winona State. You've done a little bit of everything. When you first came here, you were an infielder. You've been a starting pitcher. You've been a relief pitcher. Now you're back into a starting role. Is there any way you can sum up what your Warrior career has been so far?
It's been fun, that's all I can really say. I came in, honestly, I wasn't even thinking about pitching at all, and then we had a bunch of older guys in the infield, and I was like, hey, coach, I can throw the ball a little bit, and they're like, all right, step on the mound. And just from that point over, I just started throwing the ball on the mound, pitching, so it was good, yeah.
All right, so these last 4 years, you've kind of gone back and forth between a reliever and a starter. What's it like to prepare? What is the difference between in the mindset of being a starter versus being a reliever?
Well, for me, I like to have a little similar mindset for both, I just kind of go out there and, I'm going to compete no matter who I'm facing when I go in the game. I like starting and I like relieving at the same time. It's nice knowing when I'm going to go pitch as a starter, I know what day I'm going to go pitch, and I know I'm just going to give it everything I got, reliever, I might go in every single game of the week. So both are fun, both are kind of different at the same time, but I like doing both. So
okay.
Yeah.
Coach, I gotta ask you. Last year, Justin, all of his appearances were in relief. So what was the decision then to put him in the starting role this year?
Yeah, having a fifth-year senior on the mound is very comforting, and his ability to command the strike zone really gives us a great chance to win every time. It was a few injuries, honestly, is what brought him emerged as a starter, 100%, and it definitely was the right decision.
Okay. I want to get into what you've been doing so far this year, but first I want to talk about coming back as a fifth-year senior. Obviously, COVID gave everybody an extra year. So what was the decision like for you to actually come back for 5 years?
You know, it wasn't a hard decision. For one, I had to finish school, so I had to be here anyways, and you know, why not spend it with all my friends? So I was like, I'm gonna go play baseball.
Okay. You know, this season, especially this week, you had a start where you threw a complete game, really started out the week well for your team, and you even had a pickoff in that game as well. What was this week like for you?
Oh, it was fun. I mean, my defense played really well behind me, you know, and I take great pride in being a pitcher that keeps their defense engaged. I like to work really quick, and I like to throw a lot of strikes, you know. And I think that helps out everybody, keeps the bench energized, keeps everybody on their toes, wanting the ball, you know, and I take great pride in that. And I'm just going to keep going and going, you know, see where the season can take us.
All right. Tell us a little bit about the pickoff. What happened on that play?
I think Coach Carlson probably gave Dane a little pickoff sign. Why not try it? Keep him guessing, and it worked. You know, I think it might have been my first one in my Winona State career, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So then let's go backward then and talk about your first year and talk about, you know, playing infield and having the opportunity to hit and face college pitching and all that sort of thing. What was that like for you?
It's way different than high school pitching, I'll tell you that much. I was okay. I had a couple doubles, you know. I think I'm better off on the mound right now for sure. But if we ever need a guy,
Yeah, okay, good to know.
I was just going to say, it's been 4 years since you've had an at-bat, and this is your last go-around. You know, are you going to campaign maybe for another at-bat before it's all over?
I will definitely be campaigning. We'll see if that happens. But I'll call it right now. I'm hitting a home run if it does happen.
All right, very good. Well, we got that on tape. We'll go back at the end of the season and see if that works out. As Coach said, you know, you guys are so close right now to being a really big force in the NSIC. What do you guys need to do from this point forward to maybe turn those losses into wins around?
We just need to keep working. I think we are right there as right there could be, you know. So anything could go any which way in baseball. We're one hop away from winning both those games, and it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can easily finish top 3, top 2 in conference right now. With the way we're playing, we can beat anybody on the field, any single person in the plant we could beat. So I'm not worried about those games right now.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us here today, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Warrior Report. When we come back, we'll talk softball with head coach Greg Jones right after this. And welcome back to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. We are brought to you by Russell and Associates and coming to you from the 111 Riverfront Building, the Latch Development Center in downtown Winona. Time now to talk softball with head coach Greg Jones. And you only had 2 games this past week to talk about, but 2 games against Upper Iowa. How do you feel your team played?
Very well. I was really happy to see the offense finally come to life. And as we talked about, I know the offense is there. We also know and are proud that we can win with pitching and defense. But when you can start to finally see it and put it together, it was really great. And to come out and score 17 runs in the first game, I think, and our assistant coach talked about it after the game, the biggest part of the offense wasn't the volume of runs, it was our ability to answer. Every time they scored, we scored. And we got the lead early. We put up 4 runs in the first inning. We've been getting outscored in the first inning. And so to put up 4 early was great. And then every time they would come back, we'd put 3 more up and just kind of kept running away from them. And then they threw in the second game, probably the hardest thrower we had seen all year early. And she kind of lost some momentum late, but just a completely different style of pitching than we had seen in game 1, and still to come out and score 6 runs, I thought was really good. But then stuck to our bread and butter and were able to keep them off the scoreboard in game 2. And Abby Smith really threw a good game. So it was a good doubleheader, and it's always good to get started in conference, and it's kind of a 30-game sprint, and to get 2 on the plus side is really a great beginning for the kids.
All right, there's a lot to follow up with that, but I'll start with the offense, and it's kind of interesting looking at your stats. And as you said, the offense is one of the things that, which is not usual, that you kind of have to worry a little bit about this season. You have like 4 or 5 hitters that are hitting like 370, and then it's kind of a drop after that. When you look at something like that, and you see what's going on out in the field, what goes through your mind as a coaching staff?
I think for us, it's been so much more about timing, that our timing had been off offensively, and we were out front on everything. We spent a long time just trying to get our kids to see the ball better, track the ball better. I thought we were making decisions too soon, and then they got outside of their mechanics a little bit, and then you get in fix-me mode, and then it gets mental and all of that type of thing. But there had been a drop-off numerically for us. I mean, we hadn't seen numbers like we were seeing, and I also knew it wasn't a personnel problem. It was still just let's get in a rhythm, and get our mechanics right, get our timing right, and eventually once you get it going the right way, it should keep going that way. So the kids, to their credit, worked really hard, and we kind of did some different things offensively in practice, and they were really focused on it, and it paid off.
I don't know if it was planned, but Marissa Mullen, who's the guest today, was one of the big stars this weekend. Her and Carly Engelhardt, really. Tell us about their performances this week.
Yeah, I was just talking to Marissa about it. I'm not sure if that many RBIs in a day is a record for us or not, because I'm very proud of the history of our program, but I don't always know the numerical history of our program. But I mean, a grand slam and a 3-run homer in one game already is pretty good, and then you start tacking on others, and then for Carly to go 5 for 5, you don't get many 5 for 5 performances. So both of them were pretty locked in all day, and again, what I liked about it was they didn't start by hitting home runs. They started by hitting doubles, and they were hitting the ball hard. They were getting the ball in the barrel. They were using both gaps in the big part of the park, and then the ball started to leave the park. And one of Marissa's home runs basically dented a tree out there, and it was just really loud contact. But you could see their confidence at the plate, and I could feel confident in the third base coach's box. Like, you could see who was coming up, and it felt really good. Like, oh, hey, we're in the good part of the order now, and you could also feel it on the other side of the field, like, oh man, they're here again, and that was a good feeling, because that's the feeling I think we've all been craving all year.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the pitching, and of course we had Abby Voss on as a guest earlier, but Abby Smith has really been shining through in the pitching staff this year. Tell us what you've seen from her this year.
I really like where Abby's at. She's all year just been so steady, and she commands the strike zone so well. She's really controlling all of her pitches, and we knew going in and that we really have co-number ones. I don't think one Abby is better than the other Abby. They're very different in their approach. The decision with going with Abby Halas in all the game ones is really about because she plays another position, and so let's let her go through a full normal regular workup for game 1. And then she can just go play shortstop from the time she's done pitching until the time we're done playing. She's now the shortstop. Where Abby has more time then to process and get ready in between games and things like that, Abby Smith. But they're both pitching like number 1 pitchers. And Abby's been really good controlling her changeup and getting people out front and to swing and miss on it. She sets them up in and out. She works more east and west, where Abby Halas works more north and south. And then that works really well for them to work off of each other. Abby Smith is one of those kids that I never quite know during game one where she's at emotionally and mentally. And then game two, she goes into pitch and she's locked in to get the job done. It's been a real pleasure to watch her work.
All right, since Abby Halas is not here, I want to talk about her pitching and hitting and how difficult that is. I don't know if anybody really understands that's watching here unless you're really a big softball fan, but how hard is that to do what she's been doing over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think it is hard. I think it's hard on her, and I don't think she likes to admit it. And she's an incredibly hard worker. She's gotten herself in good shape. But, what I said a couple weeks ago to the team, I told Abby from the start, you can't be a shortstop and a pitcher. You can't be a pitcher, a hitter, and a shortstop. You just can't do all that. It's too hard on you mentally, emotionally, physically. And it's too hard on us because of what we're trying to do with the rotation. And I don't want to take a starting shortstop in and out of the game and things like that. Every time I've said you can't do that, she's proven me wrong. And but it is hard. I think it's taken a toll on her because you're trying to be so sharp at so many things. It does get hard. And but again, if you talk about it, then maybe it gets harder. Instead, we just, hey, you go do you, and you take care of you, and we're going to trust you. And I really, truly treat Abby as a pitcher when she's pitching, as a shortstop when she's playing shortstop, and as a hitter when she's hitting. Instead of one person doing all of those things, I try to compartmentalize them. And I think she does a good job at compartmentalizing that. And it's what she grew up doing. And it's all she really has ever known. And so I think all of those things allow her to do it. As a coach, you get nervous about the long haul now because you always try to look at the long game and you see what is coming down the road and how much of a grind it is. And yesterday to be able to get her out after only 5 innings was really nice. I think anytime we can get her off of her feet out there and take innings away, it's going to help her because of her value to what she brings to each of those positions.
About 30 seconds left in this segment. Now it's NSIC season. Are you where you want to be right now?
I think so, yes. I mean, the league is wide open this year. It's as wide open as I can remember. We've always talked about it being a close race, but it's usually a close race for 2 or 3 teams. I think anybody can win this league right now. I think anybody could lose to any team. Anybody could beat any team this year. So for us to come out and get 2 wins right away, not play giveaway, but go out and take wins, get our offense going, keep our pitching and defense intact. I don't know if we can win it or not, but I like where we're at, and we'll kind of see how this thing plays out.
All right. Well, good luck this week, and thanks for joining us.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. We're going to take a break here on the Warrior Report. When we come back, Marissa Mullen will join us right after this. And welcome back to the Warrior Report. We are brought to you by Russell & Associates and coming to you from the 111 Riverfront Building, the Latch Development Center in downtown Winona. Now talking with Marissa Mullen. Thanks for joining us here today.
You bet. Happy to be here.
One of the things we talk about right off the bat was the game against Upper Iowa and the 3-for-3 performance and 2 home runs that Coach was talking about. What was that like to have a day like that against Upper Iowa?
It was pretty fun, but getting 2 wins was, I think, more fun for the team as a whole. And I think it was fun for us because of the work we put in last week, not having any games. The coaches put together a really good practice plan to help us work on our timing and staying back and in our legs. And to see us execute that as a whole was really fun and really exciting and it just as motivating as we go forward to keep working hard and focusing on those things.
Now, you heard Coach say that maybe you dented a tree with one of the home runs that's there. For those of us that have never been able to make contact that hard, what's it like to get that perfect spot on the bat and have that kind of explosiveness?
You almost don't even feel it when it happens, just because it's so flush with the bat. Usually the ones you miss it are the ones that you're feeling in the hands, but usually when you don't feel it, it's going to go pretty far.
Okay, very good. So you're a graduate student,
Mm-hmm.
So this is your 5th year,
Yep.
your kind of COVID year. What was the decision for you to come back and to make that commitment one more time to the softball team?
Yeah, so I think for me it happened last fall, and I actually went into coach's office and I was like Coach, I don't think I'm ready to be done yet. I came into the fall and I was feeling really good about where I individually was at and where our team was headed, and he agreed with me and he said the door's open, and I'm just excited that I get another opportunity to do what I love with the people I love.
All right, so in your mind, when you hear that and you know that somebody's coming back to their 5th year, I mean, what does that do for you, being able to plan ahead, knowing that you have that experience, you have that leadership there?
Yeah, I think that last part was the biggest part for me. Obviously, Marissa's an incredibly talented softball player, but she's a great leader. And she's incredibly passionate about the game, loves the game, does everything the right way. And having that back at the top of the food chain was really important for me, to have somebody who understood the culture of the program, understood where we could go and what we needed to do to get there was really important for our whole program, I think.
All right, what's it like then for you to kind of have a leadership role here, especially with a team that's maybe a little bit different than what you've seen in the past?
Yeah, I love the opportunity, and me and my other 2 seniors, we just love the chance to leave our footprint with some of those younger girls. And we've had the opportunity to learn from really great leaders as we've come up through the program that have taught us what it means to play Winona State softball. And I think it's just really special to continue that and teach the younger girls that so they can keep the program going.
All right, so as one of the leading hitters on the team, what do you need to do to help some of the other players and kind of bring them up to that level as well?
We have a lot of fun during practice, and I like to bring a lot of energy and always tell them they're taking good hacks and swing hard, because that's what works best on offense. But we're good. We'll figure it out. We're having fun.
All right, and then the other part of your offense is plate discipline, because you draw a lot of walks. I think by the time the season's over, you're going to be in the top 10 all-time at Winona State in walks. For someone that's kind of got some power as well, that usually doesn't correlate with having a good eye at the plate and being able to hold off. What's it like to not swing at some of those pitches and let them go and draw a walk and get on base anywhere you can?
I think for me it's more so I know the pitches that I'm going to hit how I want to hit them, and early in the count I basically am not going to swing at something I don't feel really good about, and then sometimes that just leads to getting into a more favorable count for me, which allows me to swing at, again, pitches that I want to swing at, and if they're not there, I'm just going to move the line to the next person and give someone else a shot.
That's got to be another big thing for you too, is to have somebody that is disciplined at the plate.
It is, and excuse me, Marissa does a good job because she kind of knows what she's hunting, and she knows what she's looking for. She doesn't feel like I have to take the first pitch or I have to swing at the first pitch. She just knows what it is she's looking for. And then I think for our entire offense, that unselfishness of being able to just move the line and know that, look, every inning we're going to get 3 hitters. Somebody gets on, we get 4. Somebody else gets on, we get 5. And the more hitters we get, the more opportunities we have. It isn't about having to get the big hit. It's about understanding the process of base runners lead to a lot of bites at the apple, and a lot of bites at the apple lead to a lot of opportunities for runs.
All right, I had asked Coach Jones earlier in the segment, are you where you want to be right now as the NSIC season rolls on as a player? How do you feel about that?
I think so. I personally am feeling really confident, and I know after the work we've been putting in all preseason and to where so far in the season, as a team we're feeling really confident, and we're just excited to keep playing. Every day that we get to go out and play, it just brings a lot of joy to all of us, and we have a lot of fun and play with a lot of passion, and we're just happy to be playing softball at Winona State.
All right, as you finish the last few games of your career, is there anything you need to work on towards the end of the season?
I think just fully embracing the leadership role is something that you're always working on, and not much, like I think as you grow, you worry a lot less about yourself and a lot more about the team as a whole. So always just trying to pick up my teammates and bring a lot of energy is always something I'm focusing on, and something I'm definitely continuing to focus on as the year goes on.
All right, well, I appreciate the time here, and good luck this week on your games.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you for watching the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. We'll see you next time.